Welcome back to HypnoPro Accelerator. I'm Kimberly Lynn, and this is Essentials for Your Website. Continuing from the last episode, this is part 2 where we're going to be talking about just your services page. So let's get started. Welcome to HypnoPro Accelerator, the podcast set to transform your hypnosis business. I'm Kimberly Lynn, and alongside my partner, Whitney Christina, we're your co-pilots in the fast lane to success for professional hypnotists. Join us as we explore the art of building a thriving hypnosis practice. We'll discuss captivating offers, effective client communication, and share our own insights from the profession. No gimmicks, just practical strategies from two experts who understand the world of professional hypnosis inside and out. So grab your coffee or something stronger, we won't judge, and settle in and get ready to accelerate your hypnosis business like never before. It's time to take your practice to new heights. Let's make it happen. If you're doing this all DIY because you're just getting started, my assumption is that, you're doing this all on your own. And so it takes time to build a website, and it takes time to do it right, correctly, so that you're going to get good rankings and come up in Google. So this first version of your services page, it's going to change. So the very first version of it, I think, should be called services page or work with me page or how to work with me or what's it like, something like that, but services works. And it needs to I would cover things like not just your programs, not just your pricing options, which we've talked about in the past, but you need to talk about the different kinds of things that people come to you for if it's your niche, you need to cover that. So if you're working with situational stress, if you're working with fears, if you're working with confidence, relationships, what are your other ideas? What other kinds of things do they list? There's tons of them, but what do we list on there?
Yeah. So if you like, hypnobirthing is a niche that comes to mind. Caring for the caregivers is another niche that comes to mind. Students, like, for instance, student nurses, right? People that are trying to get medically certified or medical, like nurses, doctors,
test
dentists. Test prep, and also stress. Like, how do you get through your final internship, your fellowship? How do you do that? You're going to do so. If you've come up with some niches like that, you need to put those in there for sure.
Yeah. I was actually going to pull up really quick. The NGH has a wonderful form that they provide to all of their members that has these categories that I have put into my own form. And I'm just going to try and make it really big. So all you see is that. But these are the presenting issues that I think pretty much everyone should put on their services page and cover. So you could have a headline that says services, right? And then you could have a bulleted list at a minimum, or you could have a subheadline for self-control and then a paragraph talking about how hypnosis helps self-control. And you could have a subheadline and a paragraph talking about each one of these things, right? So it's going to be quite long, but that's okay because nothing should be repeated, right? You need to have unique information under each one of these. And also every single one of these can also go on your Google business services section. But you can definitely cover all of these. And using this wording is a very good way to start your services page. And then there's more. So before we go on, Whitney, anything you want to add to this? You were saying, while I was copying and paste, you're saying a couple of things about testimonials and things like that.
Yeah. As I'm looking at this and thinking of how I look at web pages and stuff like that, like, first of all, great list. Thank you for this resource. This is amazing. And then the other thing I would say is, as you have a paragraph for each one, probably you would have a drop down so they could click on the one that was relevant to them, have a little drop down. And then I was asking if, so saying I'm coming in for stress and anxiety, I click on that, I read your little paragraph, and then just have a little testimonial if I have a testimonial related to that. And you
Yep.
were mentioning there's ways to do that too.
Yes. I was saying to Whitney, it's going to be a fairly long page if you're doing it the way I recommend to get started. Eventually, each one of these could be its own page on your website, as long as you're not repeating and it's not the same information. That's exactly what Google would not like. So don't duplicate. But every single one of these could be its own page on your website, which would really help your relevance. And so it can definitely help. But to get started, this will all be on one page, which means it's going to be a fairly long page. And so I wouldn't include testimonials for each one of these. But if you do have a testimonial for each one, what you could do is create a link from that section to the relevant testimonial on the testimonials page, or just link to the testimonials page. So if you do that many times on one page, if you're linking right to another page directly over and over and over again, that's not actually optimal either. So just use it sparingly, a couple times at the most is all you're really going to want to do. But you definitely could link to a specific powerful video or something like that if you had one. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to come back. Okay, next, we just covered the kinds of things, the issues that people have, but what about the actual services, like how you package your services? That's what I would put in the next section of your services page. I would list out the workshops, the events, the free things, all of those things here, your different programs, what they look like, how long they are. You could certainly, if you want, put your pricing, but you certainly don't have to if you're the kind of person who wants to do like a free consult and talk about that one-on-one programs. So this is where I would personally list all of your different ways to work with me. Like, is it going to be in a workshop? What's that workshop like? One-on-one programs. Do you just do one session at a time, or do you do a package? That kind of stuff. When people work with you, what does it involve? So make sure you have like a headline or a subheadline and you kind of describe it. And then you'll have a next section for the next kind of service. And so that's what I would put on a services page. What are your thoughts, Whitney?
I'm going to kind of segue a little bit because you said on their workshops and stuff like that. For me, on my website, I would add another page to your list of important things to do, and that would be an events page. Now, you mentioned putting events under your services. I think that gets a little long. Also, if you're going to have a workshop, I think you should have a page for that workshop. And if you're going to the community center and you're doing a talk at the community center and you want people to know, put that on there. It's kind of like a Where's Whitney page, right? Yeah. How can I? So I would put that as an event page. Also, that makes you an authority. They see that you're out, you're seeing people, you're doing things, you're holding workshops. Whatever it is you're doing, you want to put it on the events page and you want to invite people to it. It's another way to have a reason to market to them, because sometimes you are going to market to the people, but to let them know that you're active and you're doing things. Again, that tells the clients that are looking for you that, this person knows what they're doing. This person is going out and talking about it and is valuable to the community. So I also would add an events page to your list.
I think you could be right. I think there's not necessarily any wrong way to do it like this. If you are a person, for instance, if you're for any one reason wanting to keep it all on one page, you certainly could. But you're right. Once a web page gets fairly long, it's almost better to create another page for it. This isn't, we're not talking funnels. We're not talking big, long sales pages. This is a informational resource for your clients. And so I think you do have a really good case for taking some of that information and creating another page. However, if you're trying to save time and you're trying to get it all on one, and you know that next month you're going to get to the events page, you could do it in that order. So the way that I presented and then move on to Whitney's, because it is a progression. And so in order for you to get your website up and working and functioning so that people can access everything they need, you got to start somewhere. And then you just keep adding. Like I said, eventually every single one of those kinds of issues will be its own web page eventually. That is a really good thing to do. Eventually, you're probably going to want to have a bunch of pages that talk about how you service the different areas around you. So, for instance, if you're in a metro area like Dallas or Boise or Houston or whatever, you're going to have maybe hypnosis in this metro area, but another page that says hypnosis in this suburb and then a hypnosis in that suburb. And as long as those pages say different information, they are perfectly good and fine for you to have. And they increase your website's relevancy and draw the local market to you. So you eventually could end up with a web page or a website that's quite large. So we are talking bare minimum, get started and just keep developing it. And that's what we have for you today, because we've already gone long. We're going to have to get to the rest of the bare minimum things you need for your website in an additional 1 or 2 podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are going to constantly every week be bringing all sorts of cool concepts for business success, practical how-tos like today, all sorts of stuff to you every week. That's what we do here at HypnoPro Accelerator. We are your co-pilots in the fast lane to success. And thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.